What if I told you the most powerful mind control technique used in life and death negotiations isn't threats, force, or manipulation, but empathy? Not sympathy, not kindness, tactical empathy. It's how FBI negotiators talk hostage takers off the edge, how CEOs win billion-dollar deals, how you, yes you, can influence anyone without saying much at all. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how the world's top negotiators disarm even the most dangerous people using nothing more than empathetic listening. And once you understand it, you'll never see human interaction the same way again. Let's start with the basics. Tactical empathy is not about being soft or agreeing with someone. It's about understanding the other person's perspective, recognizing what's driving their emotions, and using that understanding strategically to influence the outcome of a conversation. FBI negotiator Chris Voss defined it like this: it's the ability to understand the feelings and mindset of another, and to hear what is behind those feelings so you can increase your influence in all the moments that follow. This isn't just psychological fluff, it's science-backed strategy. When people feel heard, their brain chemistry changes, stress levels drop, hostility softens, logic begins to return. Even in high-stakes negotiations, when lives are on the line, empathy breaks through. That's why the FBI teaches it. That's why elite salespeople master it. That's why you should too. Let's go back to New York City, Brooklyn, 1993. A man barricades himself in a brownstone with hostages. He's armed, angry, unpredictable. He's demanding justice. He's rambling about betrayal. And then enters FBI negotiator Gary Nosner. He doesn't shout. He doesn't threaten. He listens. He mirrors. He labels emotions. He says things like, "It sounds like you feel betrayed. It seems like you don't trust the system. It feels like you've been backed into a corner." And slowly, painfully, the man begins to open up. 7 hours later, all hostages are released, and the man walks out peacefully, not a single shot fired. Why? Because he felt heard. Because someone finally understood him. Because tactical empathy diffused the emotional bomb ticking inside him. Now let's break down the science. When you practice tactical empathy, you're tapping into 1. Mirror neurons. These are brain cells that light up when we observe someone else's emotions. When you show empathy, the other person's brain feels mirrored, reducing defensiveness. 2. The amygdala hijack. Under stress, the amygdala hijacks the brain, shutting down logic and triggering fight or flight. Empathy calms the amygdala, making room for reason to return. 3. Oxytocin response. Genuine empathy increases oxytocin, the trust hormone. It builds connection fast, even with strangers. This isn't magic, it's biology. You can influence behavior, not by domination, but by disarming people's defenses through emotional resonance. Want to use this technique yourself? Here are the tools hostage negotiators rely on. 1. Mirroring. Repeat the last 2 to 3 words the other person says, with an upward tone. Example, them. I just don't trust anyone. You. Don't trust anyone? This subtle move encourages them to go deeper, to explain more without you pushing. 2. Labeling. Name the emotion you think they're feeling. It seems like you're frustrated. It sounds like you're feeling stuck. Even if you get it slightly wrong, it shows you're trying to understand, and people relax. 3. Silence. After labeling or mirroring, pause. Let silence do the heavy lifting. The other person will usually fill the space with deeper emotion or clarity. 4. How and what questions. These open-ended questions invite cooperation. How do you see this ending? What can we do to fix this? Never ask why. It sounds accusatory. These 4 tools form the backbone of tactical empathy. They're simple, but incredibly powerful. You don't need a hostage situation to use this skill. Tactical empathy works everywhere. In business deals, in parenting, in customer service, in romantic relationships. Job interview. Instead of selling yourself blindly, mirror and label the interviewer's concerns. It seems like you value team players deeply. Conflict at home. Use how questions. How can we avoid this happening again? Negotiating a raise. Use tactical empathy. It seems like the budget has been tight lately. How can we work together to make this happen down the line? It's not manipulation. It's connection. This is critical. Empathy is not saying the other person is right. It's showing you understand why they feel that way. You can be 100% opposed to someone and still use tactical empathy to influence them. That's why it's so effective. Because it doesn't require compromise, it requires connection. And connection leads to trust. And trust leads to outcomes. We live in a world full of noise, conflict, outrage. But in that chaos, the most powerful voice is the one that says, "I hear you." Empathy isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's science. It's the quiet superpower that disarms even the most hardened people and gets them to listen. So whether you're in a boardroom, a living room, or just trying to understand someone who sees the world differently, tactical empathy could be your most powerful tool. Subscribe to this channel for more deep dives like this one, and let us know in the comments, where will you try tactical empathy next? Contrary to popular belief, FBI negotiators don't train to talk people down. They train to listen people down. Every new FBI negotiator goes through simulations, emotional pressure tests, and mock crises. The goal? To control their own emotions first. Because empathy isn't something you turn on, it's a skill you build. And in the middle of a hostage standoff, it's not about winning. It's about creating a bridge between 2 emotional worlds. Negotiators practice active listening under stress, detecting emotional shifts from vocal tone alone, asking calibrated questions that de-escalate tension. They don't rush to solutions. They sit with discomfort, and that's where breakthroughs happen. Let's take a deeper look at what empathy does in the brain, especially during intense conflict. When someone feels understood, the prefrontal cortex re-engages. This is the part of the brain responsible for problem solving, long-term thinking, moral reasoning. Meanwhile, the amygdala, which drives fear and aggression, calms down. Empathy essentially acts as a biological off switch for panic. That's why FBI negotiators don't challenge the facts. They validate the feelings. Because facts don't de-escalate, feelings do. Empathy triggers decreased cortisol, stress hormone, increased oxytocin, trust and bonding, release of dopamine, reward for feeling heard. It's a cocktail of calm. Now that we understand the science, let's upgrade your toolkit. Here are 3 advanced empathy techniques hostage negotiators use that you can apply in daily life. 1. The accusation audit. Start by listing everything the other person might accuse you of. You probably think I'm just another outsider who doesn't care, that I'm here to manipulate you. When you say what they're thinking before they say it, it disarms them instantly. This technique neutralizes tension by owning the negative space in advance. 2. Dynamic silence. Most people fear silence, but negotiators use it like a weapon. Once they label or mirror, they go completely silent, forcing the other person to sit in their own emotional momentum. Often, the silence triggers deeper revelations. 3. The late-night DJ voice. Tone is everything. A calm, slow, downward-inflecting voice relaxes the nervous system. Negotiators consciously lower their tone to keep control, even when emotions rise. Try this the next time you sense tension rising. Lower your voice, slow your words. Watch how others begin to mirror you. In 2012, a disgruntled employee in San Diego took hostages inside a small tech firm. He was armed, erratic, and screaming about injustice. SWAT surrounded the building. Snipers were in position. But a young FBI negotiator named Aaron was sent in to talk from a safe line. Aaron didn't argue. He didn't interrupt. He listened. He used tactical empathy like a surgeon. It seems like you feel betrayed by your team. It sounds like no one listened when you raised concerns. It feels like this is the only way you can be heard. And then he paused. The man's voice broke. For the first time, he spoke clearly. They didn't care, not once. Hours passed. Aaron kept labeling, kept mirroring, kept calm. Eventually, the man laid down the weapon. Every hostage walked out alive. And not once did Aaron say, "Calm down," because empathy is calm. Let's get practical. You don't need to join the FBI to build this skill. You can start today. Here's your daily empathy workout. Mirror one sentence in every conversation today. Just repeat the last few words. See how people respond. Label one emotion every hour, even silently. Watch people's faces. You'll learn faster than you think. Resist the urge to correct. If someone is wrong, let them finish. Empathy is about listening, not fixing. Practice silence. After making a point, don't fill the space. Let the other person process. Keep a tactical empathy journal. Every night, write down one conversation where empathy helped, one where it didn't. Why not? It's like building muscle. Consistency matters more than complexity. Now that you know how empathy rewires the brain and diffuses threats, here's what we'll cover next. What happens when empathy fails, how narcissists and manipulators use faux empathy as a weapon, and how you can tell the difference between real influence and subtle control. Because here's the truth. Tactical empathy is a double-edged sword, and in the wrong hands, it can be used not to help, but to deceive. Empathy is a powerful tool, but here's the truth no one tells you. It can be faked, and when it is, it becomes weaponized. Skilled manipulators, narcissists, and even con artists mimic empathy to lower your guard, gain trust, extract what they want. They use your emotions against you. How? By pretending to understand your pain while feeding it. Let's break down the signs of false empathy. Overuse of mirroring and labeling without genuine concern. Empathy used as a setup, followed by a sales pitch, demand, or guilt trip. Inconsistent emotional tone, like scripted responses instead of real emotion. If-then empathy. I understand you if you do this for me. That's not connection, that's control. Let's look at a real-world example. In 2017, a man posing as a grief counselor embedded himself in a victim support group for families who had lost loved ones in violent crimes. He would listen, mirror, and console with extreme empathy. He became deeply trusted. But over time, he began requesting donations, saying he needed help expanding the mission. In reality, he was a convicted fraudster, using tactical empathy as a front to access grieving families and exploit their pain. By the time he was caught, he'd stolen over $200,000. This is why emotional intelligence without ethical grounding can become emotional warfare. Here's how you can defend against manipulative empathy. 1. Look for pattern misalignment. If someone's words express concern, but their actions violate your boundaries, that's a red flag. 2. Trust your body's warning system. Your nervous system often picks up on insincerity before your brain does. If you feel tight, off, or drained after speaking with someone who understands you, pay attention. 3. Ask boundary-testing questions. Say, "What do you expect from me right now?" Real empathy doesn't demand a return. Manipulation does. 4. Reverse the mirror. Try labeling their emotions. "It seems like you really want me to agree with you." If they react defensively or shift blame, they're not empathizing, they're controlling. Tactical empathy should feel like relief, not pressure. When used ethically, tactical empathy is world-changing. It's the reason hostage negotiators prevent violence, diplomats defuse nuclear threats, therapists rebuild shattered lives, leaders create loyal teams, everyday people resolve conflict peacefully. Because when someone feels heard, truly heard, they become human again. They step out of rage. They drop the shield. And that's where progress begins. Imagine if more of the world, labeled instead of judged, mirrored instead of mocked, listened instead of loaded their next comeback. Imagine if we all paused before reacting and leaned into empathy. That's how revolutions in trust begin. Let's wrap up with 10 core takeaways you can start using today. 1. Empathy is not agreement. It's understanding someone's emotions without judgment. 2. Use mirrors to invite more depth. Repeat the last few words they said. Watch what happens. 3. Label their emotions, don't solve them. "It seems like" is one of the most powerful phrases in human conversation. 4. Silence is your ally. After a powerful statement, say nothing. Let it land. 5. Calibrate your tone. Lower, slower, calmer. You control the emotional temperature. 6. Listen for their unmet needs, not their words. What are they really asking for underneath the anger? 7. Never argue facts during emotion. Feelings override facts. Validate the emotion first. 8. Practice daily. Empathy is a skill. It improves with repetition, reflection, and feedback. 9. Protect your boundaries. Empathy is not an invitation to be used. 10. Lead with connection. People don't change when they're threatened. They change when they're seen. Here's what you've just unlocked. You now know the real psychological hack used by hostage negotiators. You've learned how tactical empathy reshapes the brain, how it stops violence, how it turns influence into connection, and how to defend against its misuse. This isn't just for crises. It's for your marriage, your job, your friendships, your leadership. Because empathy, used tactically, is one of the most effective forms of human power there is. But only if it's real. Only if it's used with intent to understand, not to win. If this content helped you think differently, hit that subscribe button. Because we've got more real-world psychological tools coming that can change how you see and influence the world around you. Subscribe, like, and tell us below, where will you use tactical empathy next?